I'm talking about the current drone swarms that were in, let's say, Nebraska and I don't know, Colorado. I'm not exactly sure, but it was the beginning of 2020.
Well, knowing what our government probably has, and there was oh gosh, I don't know where to tell you to look up some of these things, but there was a time where not too many years back, I did get some manuals on some of these drones the military had, and I couldn't believe how many. There was like over 100 different types, and so who knows what's going on. And then right here in the Northwest where I'm at, just down east of here, in a place called Benjamin, Washington, there was one of the main suppliers of even drones for the military and things. So there's been even some testing through the years. And when there's swarms, I haven't seen really swarms. I've seen more or less individual type drones.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen and got the not quite the manual, but it's the one that the U.S. Navy has and has used for years. And I've actually seen that personally over the area. And if you know anything about the U.S. Navy, they have access where they can do anything pretty much they want in our country because they are the Navy. So they have jurisdiction over waterways and stuff. So they can use things that wouldn't normally be allowed, or at least back some years back, over some of the areas for surveillance and other things going on.
So, yeah. Well, we've always wondered as well why the Navy always has is always the top of the chain for that.
Well, you got that. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone once told me in the UK, and they said it's the Navy is where the secrets are at because it's the senior service.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, they're in charge of UFOs too, right? Because UFOs are ships as part of the Navy.
Right.
It's also misdirection. People think it must be the Air Force that does that. So it's a good misdirection that the Navy would do that, not the Air Force.
Yeah, it's sort of like, look over there, and while you're looking over there, we're doing this, Just like the Navy.
Got a good point though. Like the Navy's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, so it's the senior one.
That's right, and they have bases on dry land too, where a lot of people aren't even aware of that. Where they have they've tunneled into parts of the U.S. to where they can bring submarines right in, close in and stuff. So.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Wow.
Who knows all the secret thing? I mean, there's so much out there probably, and many times you can go out to some of these deserty areas, and lo and behold, there's camouflage openings and things. And I personally have talked to truckers that have went for sometimes almost hundreds of miles underneath the ground. So it's a lot like. If you remember the Time Tunnel and that series,
it was a TV show from 1968. Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah, and there's places like that where you look out and that's desert area, and then there's a way that you can actually get in and underground, and there's a base. And of course, those that try to find those bases, a lot of times things are pretty well camouflaged, or they get met by some kind of security and never get close enough to really do much. And occasionally there's a picture or two that might come out.
I went to a base in Laurel Canyon. It was there in the 1960s. It was like a movie studio and stuff. And now it's privately owned. I was there in 2019, stuck my camera above the fence and filmed it. But it was a very important base in Laurel Canyon, which they used for intelligence at that time. Part of the whole 60s sex, drugs, rock and roll creation.
Right.
It's right in Laurel Canyon.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And there's a lot going on around us. And there seems to be hot spots like where you're up in Vancouver, BC, and even Portland, Vancouver area, and Mount Adams and stuff here in the Northwest. And there's corporations that make some of the things too, like the FLIR and other special optics for the government projects and drones. Small little ones and everything that's even larger than that. meaning that they're fairly good size. So we're sort of a test bed area too for some things.
Yeah, I think so. We should see
Actually,
oh, go ahead, David.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize for interrupting, but I was just going to say that I actually have a drone story.
All right.
Sure. Tell us your
Yeah, sure.
drone story.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So a lot of us, I'm sure, have seen drones, different sizes, and throughout our life. Well, in the last 10 years, I would say. It was I used to for many years, decades actually. I used to wonder why is it it's very hard to take pictures of unidentified flying objects, like really close captured pictures. I always wondered about that. And I was skeptical of that. I used to say, okay, maybe it's just a load of BS, blah, 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 blah. Until about 5 years ago, I noticed something really odd. I was living in my apartment. At the time, I was living in an apartment 6 years ago, excuse me. And I noticed this object flying every single Wednesday by my apartment building. It's like 12 stories high apartment building, so it's pretty high. So I would see this object. At first, I was like, I thought nothing of it. Maybe it's a drone. Maybe it's. I'm assuming it's a civilian drone, right? And then something told me to wait for it now to get a better picture. So I would angle myself. So I went outside. It was a Wednesday. It's always a Wednesday evening around 9 o'clock. I would see this thing flying by, but I couldn't really see it that close. But I went outside one day and I'm standing there walking my dog, and there was other people walking their dogs. We saw it flying over our heads. And I said, guys, do you see that? And they're like, yeah. What is that? I said, I think that's a drone. Now I see the story starts out very innocently, right? I think it's a drone. I said, okay, I just want to make sure. Thought nothing of it again, went back into my house. Next Wednesday, this happened over a period of a month, 4 weeks. I go back outside again the third Wednesday, because the first Wednesday I saw it, then the second Wednesday I went out, the third Wednesday I went out there. This time it got closer to us. And again, I asked people, guys, are you seeing this? This thing looks humongous. And it was definitely higher than the allocated 300, I believe it's 300 meters or feet. I want to say 300 meters probably, but I could be wrong on that one. I'd have to double check that. There's a ceiling. They have a ceiling that civilians are permitted to fly these drones.
Yeah, because planes can go as low as, I'm a pilot myself. I would fly 1,000 feet was low enough.
So 300 feet then, is that possible?
Yeah, I think so. I think 1,000 is the lowest for a plane. So I can understand them not wanting to go above 300 meters.
Right. So they have, so it's probably, I think maybe it's 300 feet. I'm going to double check that what it is here. I can check that online very easily. So they have their ceiling that they cannot fly above that height, but this thing was going as high as a 12-story building. So I knew it was exceeding that. Definitely whoever gave them approbation to fly that ceiling level was above the standard civilian, received standard civilian approbation. So that weekend, at that Wednesday, the third Wednesday, I said, no, this does not look normal. Even I was skeptical about what I was witnessing. Now, here's what's really interesting. The two Wednesdays that I went out there, the second and third, the people that were with me, at no point did they feel the need to pull out their cameras. And neither did I feel the need to pull out my camera. And I could not explain that. So I said, nope. The fourth Wednesday, I'm going to actually wait upstairs. Oh no, when I see it coming from downstairs, I'm going to run up the stairs, take the elevators all the way to my floor, and I'm going to get my camera, get my binoculars, and I'm going to take so many pictures. And I said, that's it. I'm going to get proof that there's something odd going on here. I saw it coming again, ran up. I said, this is it. I've got it. Ran up the stairs, got to the top. I was on my balcony, and I would have to say it came so close that it was probably about 100 feet away from my balcony. This thing was the size of a car. And that is not a small, I'm talking about a full sedan. It was huge. I could hear the sound of it. It looked like some kind of dragonfly vessel. I was in a state of shock, but it's not so much.
Did you get a picture?
Right. Ian, this is what was really weird. At no point, when I ran up to the balcony, and I'm not evading the question, when I ran up to the balcony and I stood there staring at it, it stopped right there 100 feet away from my balcony, and I swear it looked like something above it, a camera, it pivoted in my direction. And at no point did I feel the need or desire to pull out my camera and take a picture. And then sure enough, as fast as it came and it stopped, it was static for several minutes. I just stood there in a state of shock, and then I saw it fly off.
Are you sure that you were only there for watching it for a few minutes? Do you have any points of reference that maybe you had more than that? That there's more to that than you think?
I can't say any. Like, I've had experiences with I believe it was, I have referencing for another experience where it was, I had time stop. This one I can't say. What I found really odd, beside the fact I had no desire to pull on my camera, is that when I spoke to everyone else that had witnessed it the 2 prior weeks, they all said to me, no, we don't remember any of that.
Oh, that's weird.
So I do now start to not be in such disbelief when someone tells me they have seen something or they didn't get a picture of it. I can now say, okay, there might be reasons for that I'm unaware of.
Do you know why? Why did you not want to take a picture, especially since that was your intention at the time?
That was my full intention. I have no explanation, none.
Well, here's the thing. I've got the explanation. The explanation is that it's ET, or else it's ET technology run by something that's maybe the drone is one of ours, but it's run by with using ET technology. But the ET technology is that they control the situation, and they will then put you into a calm state where you don't take or give you subliminal commands not to take the picture, not to use your photographic equipment. I mean, I've spoken to people as well who have had implants, and as soon as they take the implant, and I'm thinking at least 3 cases now, maybe 4, as soon as they've got the implant in their hands, they've destroyed it. They've gone and flushed it away or thrown it away or got rid of it. And they said, why would I do that, Ian, with a piece of extraterrestrial technology in my hands? But they've done it.
Right.
So it's the power of suggestion. So you're saying Dave was suggested to him not to take a picture.
Yeah, they control the situation in all these cases. That's why
I've wondered about what Ian's saying in the past. I just can't. Pardon me. Further to that, I was dating a lady that was a starseed. She would tell me she's a starseed, and I was with her for about 2 years. And during those 2 years with this lady, I don't know if it's because of the things she spoke about, I experienced a lot of weird things being around her. So
yeah, and do you think that meeting might have been an orchestrated meeting with her?
If I was to, you know what, this is an individual that believes, she would probably say the opposite. She would say that they put me there as her handler, to keep an eye on her, kind of thing. But then it could be the opposite. I don't know. All I do know is she's highly, highly intelligent, incredibly, not insightful, that's not the word I'm looking for. She's incredibly intuitive to other human beings' emotions, and I'd have to say extremely a strong ability at manipulating other human beings as well.
Right.
So this is a very, very special lady, and the reason that's not such a big deal. Like a lot of individuals you'll meet that have those characteristics. It's more things like, for example, she's the only person I've ever had this issue with. Like sometimes we would talk around 2, 3 in the morning, and she would start bringing up stuff about her past as a child, and boom, network failure on my phone. At first, it was a joke. We didn't think much of it. You know, my phone would go dead, and it would just say network failure, unable to communicate, and it would be out for like 5, 10 minutes. But then over the 2 years, when it would happen so frequently, when we would speak about her childhood, I was like, nah, I got to be making this stuff up in my head. This can't be real. But
well, there you go. That sounds like it's verification of whatever she was recounting to you?
There were other times we would be driving and I would see things flying up. It seemed like they were flying above us. And I'm like, okay, am I imagining? Isn't that something that's flying above us at our car speed? And she goes, don't look at them, Dave. Just don't look at them. And I go, what do you mean don't look at them? I'm going to look. There's something flying there, hovering. It's my nature to look. You know, I'm in a career where, and I would see it. And it happened a couple times, and there was no explanation for that either. I'm trying to think of some other examples. While we were together, if she slept over, we were, of course, in their proximity. I would constantly have dreams about UFOs and aliens. It was ridiculous. Full-grown world invasions. Like, it was, I don't know how to explain that one either. Massive amount of dreams over 2 years of alien and UFO invasions. So there were things like that. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I'm feeling there's still a connection with her. Is that true?
Ian, I have been, for 3 years now, I've been trying to break away from this connection. That you are very perceptive. You are absolutely 110% right.
And I'll tell you why. Because I've lived through this myself. And even last night, I had dreams that were they were more than dreams. And I could feel that the attraction that they were using. I don't know if you're familiar with the works of Eve Lorgren. She's from, I believe it's North Carolina she's at now. The Alien Love Bite and The Dark Side of Cupid, alien involvement in human love lives. Because I believe a lot of the, what I've been through was orchestrated too. So, yeah.
I actually have heard of the alien.
Same with Mimi. Like, Mimi believes she met her husband on a ship, because the first time they met in person was at a nightclub, and they're both wearing dark sunglasses for some reason. They came towards each other, and they're immediately drawn to each other. They went outside, and they're making out before they even knew each other's name, before they even spoke.
Wow.
And she feels that she knows they met on a craft prior to that. That's the alien love bite.
Yeah, I've heard about the alien love bite.
They had three kids together as well.
So David, do you think that that you? I mean, if you're familiar with that book, you may have even cross-referenced that for yourself.
I only looked into it because of her. Ian, I'm curious. Why did you say what you said? I'm really, really intrigued now. Why did you say? Do I still feel there's still a connection between me and her from my end? I'm curious. What did I say to give you that impression?
It came through. Sometimes
wow.
I mean, I can feel it. I can feel it, and I know it. Sometimes I just say it like it is. And
I think Ian's more psychic than me, because I didn't feel that. I didn't get that. But
I can tell David. I was waiting for it, and I thought if he doesn't say it, I'm going to say it.
No, Ian, I'm not going to BS you guys. I'm not going to be transparent about this one, which I don't usually tell anybody. I think of this woman every single day. The weird thing is, I'm the one that broke it off. I had to break it off. I had to get away from this this person, I should say, this being. But you're right. There is a strong, there's still a strong connection from me towards her, and it's not so. It's if I dare say it, and I hate using this word, I would have to say it's her energy. There's something about the energy that was mesmerizing almost. It was. There were times when I would be laying beside her, looking at her face, and I swear to you, I thought I was watching an angel, but not angel. It's weird. It's very mind. I don't want to use the word controlling, but mind. It was at a very strong mental level, and it was because of her. I'm not going to lie. It was because of her that I started digging deeper and deeper and deeper into the whole Starseed Lightworker, Galactic Federation, High Council membership, like all of that. I got really deep after we decided to part our ways. But yes, every single day I think of this human being. At least once a day she crosses my mind, and it's something that I cannot let go or control.
Do you think that she was a hybrid, or does Ian think that she was a hybrid?
Well, I don't know, David. You would know best, but she sounds like she has abilities, and that there's something there. She's talked about her experiences, and you getting electronic interference, and you're in the field anyway of electronics as well. So this is like getting your attention. But I feel that I could tell the way you were saying that was the case, and maybe this is important as well, that you're having this conversation now, and you're realizing this back to yourself. And I think have you actually read the Alien Love Bite or the Love Bite
I read one book on the Love Bite, the Alien Love Bite. Yeah.
So you must know what I'm talking about, where these people find this absolute fantastic attraction. I mean, I can go from my own personal experiences. I won't go on about it now because we're on the record, etc.
Right.
But it's the same. I can understand it. Let's put it that way.
I was married for 10 years prior to meeting this lady, and I've dated a couple other ladies after my marriage, but nothing comes close to the control or the attraction, the mental attraction to this being. And I cannot explain it. It was physically draining, mentally draining, and now I've studied narcissism. I've studied narcissism tendencies. I've studied narcissists. I've studied narcissistic personality disorder. I've gone all around, and yes, I could easily label all these things as this individual, but I will say there is a part of me, even 1% of me, that does question certain things. And honestly, it is because of her that I started questioning a lot more. She was standard O negative, no surprise. O negative, highly intelligent human being. I'm going to use the word empath, not in the standard way that most people in the psychic community might use it, but empath in the sense where, due to the amount of trauma she experienced as a child, she was incredible at deciphering people based on social and behavioral cues, but only she would do that through channeling to somebody in the Galactic Federation. It was only when she channeled these beings that she gained this incredible insight into others. So for me, at a scientific level, as far as I'm concerned, that was just her conduit she would use, as opposed to being confident and just being able to decipher people. But then again, at this point in my life, I'm starting to question a lot of the things I used to think before at a scientific level. That is it possible that this being who claims to be a hybrid, she did claim to be a hybrid alien. Yes, definitely to this day, she's probably still claiming to be one that I can no longer dispute that 100%, that I have to at least maintain a 1% doubt in myself that there's a possibility.
Can you reveal like her background, when she was born, like was like O negative, like what's her ethnicity, where she came from, and what type of abuse? Was it military abuse?
Yeah, I will go as far as saying all the categories that we read about regarding the MK Ultra project, she fit all of that. How about that? I can go as much as far as saying that if you've ever studied the MK Ultra project, you'll see how they have all the specific criteria based on what people report and some of the disclosed stuff that they've released back in the 70s on the MK Ultra project. Quite a bit of it, her personal life was, you can see the similarities there easily, very obviously.
Does not raise the question though, is this military MK Ultra, or is this alien?
I would lean, based on the stuff she would tell me, would be my labs, which is a combination of both.
Oh yeah, I don't understand. I thought the My Labs military production was all human military. I didn't know it was alien.
Well, it's depending on who you speak to. Yeah, depending on who you speak with regarding My Labs, it's the technology that they have acquired from the aliens that they're incorporated into their own arsenal to use on.
Absolutely. The My Lab I was talking to recently had an experience where they saw technology being used, which, let's say, showed them as aliens when they weren't, they were humans, and also showed holographic landscapes that weren't there. I was just going to say, David, you're involved in this quite deeply, but I think I can speak, from my own experience, when you feel that you're personally involved in these things, and what you're saying, I fully resonate with as well.
Okay.
If that's any help to you.
No. I do appreciate that, actually. When you took me by surprise, by the way, I'm going to say, and not many people, no, sorry, I don't allow people to take me by surprise, but this group actually took me by surprise. But Ian, you definitely took me by surprise when you said what you said. So I have to some degree, believe you do understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about this movie, and that it's not. At first I said, okay, could it be just lust? I can't believe it's love, because love would be a whole different thing, and then it would have to just be lust. But that's no, this is beyond my control. I've dated many women, I've been married, I've been fiancé, but yet this human being, I cannot release them from my mind, which makes no sense.
One good question is, did she find you and approach you and get you, or did you find her? Like, how did you meet? Is a significant question.
So that's a good question. We met at a UFO investigation group, and it was we started talking. I'm a really funny cat. I posted in Craigslist, human beings seeking starseed. It was a joke. I mean, it was really a joke.
Be careful what you wish for, David.
Sorry if I'm laughing too loud in the mic.
Yeah.
It just so happened she walked into our UFO group, because I was part of the UFO group first. She walked in the UFO group and we befriended each other. And while I was deployed, my second deployment, we stayed in contact, and she really always wanted to reach out to me when I came back. That's when it was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. It was really extremely emotional. And at my age group, or at a certain age group, I don't allow myself to feel those kinds of deep emotions for the human beings. But sure enough, it was so potent that it just propelled me into this human being's arms, and that was okay. All that experience was great.
I mean, she was potent. She was potent, or your emotions?
I would have to say both of us, actually. It was weird. It was very strong at one point, and just as fast as that emotional potency showed up, it dispersed. And I was like, wait a minute, this is like really weird. It's done. It's empty. And I broke off. I said, you know what? It's time I should move forward. She should move forward, and we'll go our separate ways. But even though I made that mental disconnection at that point, there was something about me that just stayed connected with her, and I couldn't figure that one out. Something else she used to tell me a lot, and I actually used to have a lot of those dreams too. We couldn't explain this. She used to have dreams of us in another time during the Egyptian era. Oh, you want to say something, Brian?
No, I just think, that indicates past life. I think, past life connection.
Yeah, she dreamt of us. Her dreams were pretty lucid, and I do believe they were quite lucid. Occasionally, she would have vivid dreams. So she would have these dreams of us. Multiple times she dreamt of us being brothers and sisters. At first, I kind of found it weird. You hear stuff like that, you're like, oh. But she told me one dream where we were in Egyptian times, and we were in front of the pharaoh, our father, I guess, and they saw that she was pregnant, and her belly, there was the head sticking out, but it was an elongated head, a long head. And when she got that dream, she woke up sweating, and she was like breathing profusely. It was terrible nightmare for her to experience this. What was scary is that she started bleeding. So I don't know if there was a correlation between the two. And that was something else. I'm trying to maintain and not speak too much about her privately. You know, I got to be careful.
But were you the son of the Pharaoh? The Pharaoh was your father?
Yes, he was our father, and she was my sister.
So you're a prince.
The TV show Resident Alien is about this. I won't, of course, just give you the synopsis. It's this alien that comes to our planet to destroy our planet, but sure enough, he assimilates into our society, and as well, he transforms into a human being. He can molecularly reconstruct his body to look like us, but at the same time, he has to use our DNA to achieve that. And on the 8th episode, he goes to a UFO convention, and George Norrie is in there. You guys all heard, you all know who George Norrie is, right? He's a cameo in there, and they actually, at one point at the UFO convention, they talk about blue avians, and he patented that, of course. He has the rights for it. I believe it's him that has the rights for the blue avians, the blue chickens. And I'm blown away now that Hollywood has reached the point where they are now looking at non-mainstream individuals such as Corey Goode and incorporating their ideas into TV shows. Like, that's why I posted a second ago that I really believe in the near future, at some point, near future could be 10, 20 years, but that they're going to finally provide us with at least partial disclosure.
But don't you think with Corey Goode in Hollywood, that's a conspiracy for more disinfo, that Hollywood's owned by the New World Order? They would like to disinfo, and Corey Goode's a disinfo agent. Wouldn't that be an hypothesis?
Well, the thing is, they're probably referencing Corey Goode, but it's a case of how many people is that for the benefit of? You know, they don't have to do that, and you know, it's not really going to make much sense. But it's almost like leaving Easter eggs in DVDs to reference something, to have something in there that maybe, you know, it doesn't make sense, but it probably makes sense to somebody to include that content. It's like they don't ever put anything in anything there has to be a reason for them to put something in, but to reference something that has, let's say, is only of interest to a small minority people that people would recognize. But like David said, it reaches a wider audience. So it's a strange one.
Another one right now, I don't know, Ian, if you and Madam Howe have interviewed him. David Wilcock right now is taking a big hit. He's he hasn't made a video in 2 months, and nobody knows where he's gone. He finally posted something on his Twitter a couple days ago, but he's been MIA for the last 2 months. So he's been taking, and unfortunately, Mr. Goode's taking has been taking a nasty hit over the last year. Tremendous lawsuits have been going against him. I don't know if you guys.
Against who? Sorry.
What was that? Sorry, Ian.
Against who? Against Wilcock. David Wilcock.
Corey Goode. Corey Goode's been dealing with a number of lawsuits. Like they have been trying to sue him for 2 years now. Someone claiming that his Blue Avian storyline was stolen from someone else, and they have actually all.
Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. Told me that.
So these guys are taking a lot of hits right now.
Well, I was only just referencing the Martian Chronicles this last week. Again, which is a fantastic story. Well, it's a collection of stories, isn't it, by Ray Bradbury? I guess you're familiar with the Martian Chronicles, Dave.
I want to say no. I might have heard it in passing, but I can't say no, that I know them intimately. I don't want to, I can't say I know them.
You're right, that was that the 1950s or 60s?
Oh.
He actually wrote them, I believe, in the 50s. Well, maybe they were even written. When was Ray Bradbury born? 1921 or something like that. I'm not sure. Let's rewind a bit. But it was certainly, they were certainly published in the 1950s in, let's say, the magazines, the pulp magazines at the time. I suppose the Amazing Stories and the Ray Palmer type magazines of the 50s. And then but even Ray Bradbury didn't post. I was watching an analysis. This is how deep I was going into it. An analysis from a university professor who was giving a presentation on Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, and Ray Bradbury didn't even rate it as science fiction. He just called it a fantasy novel. But then again, it was a collection of different stories that were put together, featuring many elements of the human, of let's say popular culture at the time, or what would be popular culture. In other words, has a greater meaning to everything, including this leaving Earth to go to Mars on a mission which fails. And he details in the Martian Chronicles, I believe there's 3 missions that fail, and they fail because of the humans, or because the Martians themselves kill the humans. It's incredible to really look into the depth of the Martian Chronicles. But the other thing about the Martian Chronicles is it deals with the deception of the humans, in that they believe that they see. I believe one of the stories was called "Heaven is on Mars," because when the Martian explorers arrive, that this is the Earth expedition arrives, they find a replica of a town from somewhere like Illinois in 1979, and then they start meeting their dead relatives, and it's a bit weird, but then they think, well, that's good, because at least we're meeting our dead relatives. But of course, it's all screen memories put up by the Martians.
So, Ian, do you think the Martian Chronicles is just fiction that Ray Bradbury made up, that doesn't mean anything?
Well, I would say that underlying it is probably almost like a folk memory of a long dead civilization, or a wiped out civilization. Don't forget, Mimi has spoken of this as well, about the wars on Mars.
Yeah, and on Mars in a previous life, maybe thousands of years.
Yeah, and she talks about the children being rescued. And we also know about John Brandenburg's books about the wars on Mars and the destruction by nuclear weapons of the civilizations. So I guess that, again, this could be another part of disclosure, is to let us know about artifacts found by another civilization, and that would be a way that they could do this as well. But there could well be artifacts there, or again, it could well be the Martian civilization, although we think of it as a dead planet now, that they may well have escaped, and we may actually be them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely an ancient civilization Mars. So I'm just asking about Ray Bradbury himself. Are you saying he had inside information, or is it just fiction that he made up?
Well, it's speculation. A lot of these people, he would never say that he drew this inspiration from anywhere else, but apart from himself writing stories. But it makes you wonder whether or not the stories did come from another star seed in some respect, or whether or not he was the whole 1950s science fiction genre, and breaking into this genre of science fiction stories and storytelling is actually part of an alien plan for humanity anyway.
You mean that they may have unwittingly channeled Ray Bradbury? He was unaware that he was channeling something that was valid?
Yeah, this may well have been some source memories that, again, like you mentioned, that today the powers that be may want to use Hollywood for information or disinformation or disclosure. Maybe an alien race wanted to use science fiction writers who could then portray life on other planets, and life, let's say, life, open up people's minds to the existence of life on other planets, particularly our nearest neighbor.
Yeah, I guess one thought I have about that is maybe Ray Bradbury had a past life like Mimi there in these trillion memories. Another thing I mentioned is Arthur C. Clarke. I think he did work in intelligence, and one of his very first stories he ever wrote was about reptilians. This like either the 1940s or 50s. So he may have actually had inside information given to him. And also in 2001, he wrote the story of a pyramid. The monolith was a pyramid, but it seems like Stanley Kubrick thought, well, it's too difficult to film. I'm going to use a monolith instead. It might have been Stanley Kubrick's idea, but in the book, it was actually a pyramid. So that probably really means something, right? Because we know the significance of pyramids.
Yeah, and with Ray Bradbury, he's also known for his novel Fahrenheit 451, which is a dystopian futuristic novel based on life on Earth in the future, which again may have been drawing on something else.
Oh, so think of Fahrenheit 451. That's absolute zero, right? And Jeff was talking about quantum computers. Once you get down to absolute zero, maybe time stands still and the universe stands still, and you have this quantum kind of thing. What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know. That actually brings me back to where you, or was it Steve? It was Steve mentioned the Mandela Effect, and although I've sent you that link for its Exo Metaverse, I think is the company, let's say, that's putting on these presentations on the second Friday of every month or whatever it is. So that's, or the fourth Friday of every month. That's what this one is. So that's the email that I've sent you, which will have a link on that. But with the Mandela Effect, do you have any particular Mandela effects yourself, or we can go round and ask you, Dave and Steve, if anyone has a Mandela effect?
I mentioned mine about, I do remember Jiffy peanut butter, but apparently it was Jif peanut butter.
Okay, but one of the ones which gets me is the James Bond film, Moonraker.
I saw that in 1977. I remember that.
Yeah.
And do you remember the big tall guy, Jaws?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember Jaws.
Yeah.
Metal teeth. But do you remember the girl that he hooked up with, Dolly, the little girl with a
white girl in Austria? She was about 16 or 17. That one.
Yeah, but do you remember? I mean, she had the pigtails and everything else.
Right.
But do you remember what those two had in common? What they found was the attraction. Put it that way.
I remember people were afraid he was going to attack her. Then he picks her up and they fall in love. I remember that. I don't remember much more.
You don't remember about the braces that she had?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but do you know that's a Mandela effect, that apparently you can't find any reference to that anywhere, that she
I
had
know
braces?
for sure 100% that she had braces.
Me too. They wouldn't have put it in there. They put that in there, and they even referenced it later in an advertising campaign of something. But no, apparently not in this reality.
You mean now if someone goes to that movie back now, there's no braces in that movie now?
That's right.
Oh, hey, I can tell you other things too, because you know of the movie THX 1138? Well, I'm one of the few people in the world that's ever been in a theater that started on fire. That movie actually caught fire.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah, and there's we got actually, my brother and I were there, and of course the fire was put out and they finished the film, but there's a sequence of it that you'll never see again, and that doesn't make any sense either, because you would think with the masters they would have that sequence. And anyway, as a movie, it was a dystopian movie too, where mankind was basically the future underground, and it was controlled by atomic powered robots that looked like police, and children were born basically like in a test tube, and just a real, it was ahead of its time. It was actually, if things keep going the way they are, we'd somewhat end up like it. And oh gosh, I'm trying to think of whose movie it was though.
I was holding in before chiming in because I wanted to hear what Steve had to say about this movie. Yeah. He's right; it's way ahead of its time. George Lucas.
Yes, that's what I
know you have.
Everybody knows.
I wanted to wait.
That's who I know it was too. And you know how that goes. somebody you know and you can't think of their name. He's so famous. And yeah, that was his first movie. And that was quite something in how it was done. And that was actually, believe it or not, that was filmed somewhat in Italy and in California. And
Okay.
a lot of that wasn't even really what you'd call props. They were actually in real areas that they filmed the underground scenes and everything. And even some of the props were actually real. They actually worked, like the car and such. So it's really something in itself. But as speaking today and what's been discussed from you, David and Ian, it's interesting that my first, I've only been married once, but my ex, she was an experiencer and had experiences as a childhood with Grays. And we were only married for 4 years, and she'd always keep telling me that I can't change you and I can't control you. And I think you can find someone else. So that's how my marriage went. But we had experiences together. So it was unusual in itself. It's just something, you know, and of course my friendships seem to be individuals that have had, that are experiencers of either paranormal or the UFO phenomena or both. And somehow an attraction there.
Would Steve, do you think that your connection there of you two getting together was somehow orchestrated as well?
I believe so. Yeah, I really do. I mean, it's how we met is actually she was a customer of mine, and I had a retail store, and we were able to, you know, how you can say, again, trying to come up with words. Anyway, we had an attraction there, and got talking about things and such. And I was hoping that, you know, that marriage would have lasted, but then I guess things worked the way they're supposed to. This was a number of years now. That was in the late 90s. But
Right.
you know, and it's, I don't know, the things that happen, and of course what we talked about today, I can understand, and it's actually somewhat, it brings out information in both yourself, Ian, and in David's situation too, that we need to actually be somewhat careful, or should be careful in our relationships, because there's sometimes ulterior motives, and of course things being what they are. And when it comes to MK Ultra, I've known several people that have actually been part of that program. And I know a researcher that he's since passed, that I believe that he was prematurely, his life taken from cancer. And he was really adamant about trying to get that information out. And that was some years back now. And he would actually print up information. And when there was any type of like fairs or gatherings of people, he would hand out the information and try to get people to look into it, because there was probably a lot more people that have been involved in it than what we even know.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising how big that operation was. And that's why I referenced to Brian earlier. I referenced the book Operation Mind Control by Walter Boart.
Yes,
he was one of the first ones to bring that forwards, and again, you know, that's a groundbreaking book, I think, because of its content and because of its time.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I may have mentioned this before, and you may have heard me say this, but the New Outer Limits that came out basically in the 90s, there's one called The Grid, and that was in season 6. That was the title of that particular show. And that talks about mass mind control. And it was very interesting that took place in the state of Washington and near our military bases up there where Lewis McCord is. And the premise of it was that this community, a small community that was near the sound area there, was actually being used. They were taking the MRIs of people's brains, and then they were somehow getting the frequencies of the person, and then they had a system where they had this supercomputer that was alien, basically, or at least it showed it that they were able to send out signals to this community and control the people. Interesting, because now we have this 5G, and it's doing probably more than what most people would think. And then having all the satellites that were going to be put up, I think over 30,000 of them. And you know what's interesting about it, the chronograph with the original Outer Limits, it was, I think it was either called Project Orbit or Orbit. And that was where they had this alien device where they could watch people. And it's interesting that that would even been written up that way, because I do believe our government has had a device of something of that kind of technology for years, where they're actually able to go through time and tune into individuals. That's why sometimes I think when you're at certain places too, that you feel like you're being watched, and yet there's no one actually there, but there's a way that they've been able to tune into your brainwaves.